Hi everybody, this is Courtney from FRINGE, and today what we're going to be working on is adding the border to your lace scarf. This is going to be the part 3 of that tutorial. Right here I'm showing you a twisted fringe that I've done on one of the ends of the scarf, and I'm going to show you a total of 4 different borders that you can add to this scarf in this tutorial today. And for this one right here, this is your twisted fringe. I think it's really pretty. It gives a really bohemian look to it, but I also really like this particular fringe, or border. This is the pom-pom border. Sometimes I call it the puff border. It is done on the end of the scarf, and if you look, if I stretch this out, you can see all we're doing here is skipping a little chain space along the side to keep this nice and even. So when you put this on your piece, it ends up making a really pretty border. You can of course do absolutely no border as well. I've got 2 more borders that I will show you. We're going to jump into the tutorial so that we can keep the video length not too crazy and long, but if you like your scarf the way that it is, once you've finished it, you do not have to add a border. This is just optional. So we're going to go ahead and jump in how to do this pom-pom border. And I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to get ready to do the pom-poms with you. 1 second, I'll be right back. Alright, so I'm going to be doing all these borders today in a smaller hook than what I used on the project. The hook in particular that I'm using is a 3.75 millimeter hook. This particular yarn is a size 3 that I'm showing this in. In any of your yarn sizes, I just recommend that you drop down a few hook sizes from what you were using to do the border. It makes it a little bit tighter and neater. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So right here on the edge, if you take your piece and you stretch it out, it has done a really pretty drape where it actually forms more of a dip down and almost a triangle in the center right here. It kind of moves like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to come over to either one of the edges. And you're going to identify your edge. It's coming off of these puffs that are on here, or these clusters that are on here on the side. And what we did right here to begin this was we had chained 11. So I try to go about 7-8 up on that chain, and that's where I'm going to attach my border. You can look at yours and see what works best. This is the one stitch that you're going to want to definitely, when you're starting, you're going to want to go in to make that corner. So you're going to want to pick a stitch and go directly into it in order to start your border on your piece. So here we are. I'm going to go ahead and grab my yarn and get started. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and begin. We've picked a spot to start. We are on the end of our scarf, and you're going to get a little slip knot on your hook and go ahead and pull up that loop through that stitch you chose, and you're going to do a chain, and then you're going to do a single crochet to lock that in place. I like to grab both little strings of yarn that I've got and then drop that tail back. That's just me personally. You can do that however you prefer, because I'm going to be knotting that off and clipping it at the end. So to move on to start our puff, we're going to chain 5 in this particular scenario. You can do more chains if you would like, but I'm going to be chaining 5, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm trying to keep them pretty consistent. I don't want to crochet too loosely. Now I'm going to pinch that 5th chain, and I'm going to go ahead and chain up 3 more. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'm going to wrap my yarn, and I'm going to go down here into that 3rd chain, so right above where I'm pinching, and I'm going to insert my hook. Just like that. Go right there under that V. I'm going to pull up a loop. So I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I'm going to wrap my yarn again, and I'm going to go down here to the same exact stitch right there, same stitch, and I'm going to insert my hook again, and I'm going to pull up a loop. Now technically 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to pull through 2, and now I'm ending with 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go back down to that same exact stitch again, insert my hook, pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, grab my yarn and pull through 2, And now I have 4 loops on my hook, and I know I've finished this part of the pom-pom, so I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through all 4 loops. So I have something that looks like that. So now I'm going to chain 3 again, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to wrap my yarn. I'm going to go down here to this very first chain I made. It's right above this little cluster that we just put together, and I'm going to insert my hook just like that underneath the little V. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn again and pull through 2 loops. I've got 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to go back down to the same exact stitch. So I'm staying in the same stitch each time. That's where I'm working in. I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn again and pull through 2 loops. So now I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn again, and I'm going to go back down into the same exact stitch, just like that. I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2 loops. Now I have 4 loops on my hook, so I know I'm done. I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm going to turn my hook so that it's facing down towards my project. You don't want to go at these to pull through with your yarn facing in the normal working direction, because you will just grab your loops. So you want to turn down just like that. Hopefully you can see that in the camera, and you're going to pull through all 4 loops. And sometimes you lose it, so I'm going to slip my yarn, my hook right back through all of that and do that again. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull through all 4 loops. So now I've got these 2 pieces. They look just like this, and we're going to have to connect those together. So the way that I like to do this is I just take my hook, still with that loop on, and I pull it back behind here, my finger's right there. And then I look at what my working area, I've got a large loop right here. That's what I'm going to go into, is that large loop just under your puffs that you made. So I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to slip stitch by pulling all the way through both of those loops. So now I've formed my very first pom-pom. So now if you chain 5, no matter what you chained on the other side, you're going to chain the exact same number to move on. So you're going to chain, in my case, 5. You want to just make sure you're consistent with those chaining. Whatever you chose, whether it was 4, 5, 6, or 7, you want to make sure that you do the same thing after each of those pom-poms that you created, these little puffs. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to select here at the end. We have a long chain that we've been working with. So you're going to select a center point, and that is where you'd like to go into, or you can lay your work down. And you can look at how when you connect this by just moving your hook towards your project, you can see, okay, this is how this will be stretched apart. And if you want them to be less stretched and end up with more of these pom-poms, then you're going to scoot it in. In my case, I want to move it over because I like to see that nice formed V. So you can choose anywhere you'd like. Some of you are going to be choosing on this chain. And if you are, you're going to choose one of these stitches and you're going to work directly into it. That's to lock that pom-pom in place so that you don't have it sliding around on that whole long stitch. In my case, I'm going to come over here, and what I find to be easiest is I'm going to come over past all of this, and I'm going to choose this little loop right here. This is one of the chain spaces that we had created. We're working on the end of the project, but these are still present, so I'm going to work directly into that. I'm going to insert my hook, and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2 and do a nice little single crochet to lock that in place. So that is how my first one is ending up looking. So now I'm going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to grab that 5th stitch. I'm going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to wrap my yarn. I'm going to go down here into this first stitch. It is going to be right above where I'm pinching, and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through 2 loops. I've got 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to hold it there. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to insert into the same exact chain space or same exact stitch, and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to insert into the same exact stitch. I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I've got 4 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through all 4 loops. Now I'm going to chain 3 again. 1, 2, and 3. I'm going to wrap my yarn. I'm going to insert into that 3rd chain, so the very first one that we made, and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I've got 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn again. I'm going to insert into that same chain again, pulling up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2, and I'm going to hold it. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn one more time. I'm going to insert my hook into that same exact space, and I'm going to pull up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2. I'm going to hold it. I've got 4 loops on my hook. I'm going to wrap my yarn, pull through all 4 loops, and now we've finished our little pom-pom. So now I'm going to take and I'm going to move this backwards. So I'm bending it backwards to form this little sandwich basically. The 2 little puffs, pom-poms, are together. And now I'm going to look right here at my work. You see that large loop right there? That's where I'm going to insert my hook. So I've got this pulled back here, and I'm going to go, you can pull on your work to see, to kind of expose that loop. You want to go into that large one, you're going to insert your hook in. Now we're going to slip stitch in order to close that off. So I'm going to grab my yarn. I'm going to pull it through that loop. I'm going to pull it through this loop, and I'm finished. So now we're going to chain 5 again in my case. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're going to look at our work again. So you can lay that down. And I've worked in right here. So I want to skip this next chain opening right here. It's the next space. If you pull your work apart, you can see I'm skipping right there. I'm in over here. This is where I connected. This is actually single crochet. I'm skipping that, and I'm skipping this. And I'm going to come over here into this little loop space. That's where I'm going to anchor. So I'm going to come here, insert my hook directly into that space, and I'm going to do a single crochet to lock it in. So I'm going to pull up a loop. I've got 2 loops on my hook, pull through 2, and I've just done a single crochet to lock that in place. So if you stop and take a look, I've got really even spacing. When this is draping, when it's hanging off of you, those are going to hang down really nicely. And we're going to do this one more time just to show you, as we're getting over here towards the center, how to work that. It's going to be exactly the same. We're going to be skipping over this and anchoring right here, and this is technically in my center. Some of you may want to skip over this and this section and have that little pom-pom hanging right here in the center. It's completely up to you. 1, chaining 5 again, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And we're going to chain up 3 again, just like we did. We're going to wrap our yarn. We're going to insert into that 3rd chain right above where we're pinching. Pull up a loop, pull through 2. Wrap our yarn again, insert again. We're going to pull up a loop, pull through 2. And we're holding it with 3 loops on our hook. We're going to wrap one more time. Just one more time. We're going to insert into that same exact chain that we've been working in, and we're going to pull up a loop. We're going to pull through 2, and we're going to hold it. We've got 4 loops on our hook, and of course I've got a little knot in my yarn that I've got to address, having it all pulled out the way I do. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab my yarn, and I'm going to pull through all 4 loops. So I've formed the first part of that pom-pom. Now I'm going to chain 3 again, wrap my yarn. I'm going to insert my hook. I'm going to pull up a loop. Now I've got 2 on my hook. Wrap again. Insert again. wrap and pull through 2, got 3 loops on my hook, wrapping one more time, inserting into the same exact chain, pulling up a loop. I'm going to pull through 2. I've got 4 loops on my hook, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap and pull through all 4. And now I've got the 2 parts of my little pom-pom. So I'm going to bend it back here, and if you stretch your work down, you can see this large loop. That's where we're going into, right underneath our puff. And we are going to grab our yarn and we're going to slip stitch. So I'm just pulling through that loop and pulling through that second loop. So that is exactly how we do that. Now we just chain 5 again in my case. You're going to chain whatever you decided to chain. Keep it consistent and you will work out just fine. So now we can lay this down and we can look again together. Either way, this will be my center point right here. This is the center. And normally what we would be doing is just skipping over this space and moving into the next. And you can do that. Or you can choose to move over here and work in this space just over the center of the shawl. Or I'm sorry, the scarf. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to show you what that will look like. I'm doing a single crochet to lock it in place. So there's a lot of flexibility with doing this little pom-pom border. It is really flexible on your piece. Ends up looking really nice. Now next I'm going to be showing you how to do the twisted fringe, just like I showed in the beginning of the video. It is much easier than it looks. We'll do a few of those together. You're essentially just working all the way down, doing a single crochet all the way down your project. So on this, we're not really skipping over anything. We're just kind of working with the piece to add on the fringe. So those are 2 of the options that I'm about to show, or that's the second option I'm about to show. And then we will have a third and a fourth option. You can actually do those here on the side. So if you just bear with me, I'll be back in a moment and we'll start on the fringe, twisted fringe border. Alright, so we are back and we are going to be doing the twisted fringe now. So just like before, I've done a slip knot, I've got it on my hook, I chose a chain space to work into, and I'm going to be using the same exact count over here on the other side so that my ends are even. And I have fringe laying evenly at each end. So what you're going to do for this is you're going to go ahead and chain 1 to kind of lock all that down. I'm going to go ahead and drop my tail back out of the way and kind of use my finger to hold it out of the way. And now I'm going to do a single crochet right here into this stitch that we're working in. So I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet, just like so. So now how we're going to do our fringe, you're going to need something to kind of measure along, or you're going to be eyeballing it, and that's also fine. I'm going to use this crochet hook, and what I'm going to do is, this is a yarn eater in a sense, because I'm going to be taking, I've got my crochet hook still in that stitch, I've got my chain and my single crochet right here. I'm at the edge of my scarf, and I'm going to take that single crochet and basically line it up here at the end so that this crochet hook, in my case, some of you might want to use a book, a piece of like a notebook, or you could use a card, anything just to measure, or of course a measuring tape or a ruler. And I'm just going to hold my stitch down here and kind of pinch that in place, but I'm going to allow for my yarn to pull through. So I'm holding in place but loosely so I can pull some yarn through. And I'm going to pull my yarn down here to the end. This is how I'm going to measure each and every one of my twisted fringe that I'm going to do, so that they come out even and they're all the same length. You don't have to do that. You can have them being varying lengths. It does look cute as well. When I was doing this last night as a practice, I had it going a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, and I like that. But for tutorial purposes, I'm going to show you how everyone says that this should be done. So we've measured this out. We've got it the length of what we're using to do our fringe. The longer, obviously, the longer your fringe is going to be. You're going to end up with about half as long as what you're pulling out. Your twisted fringe is going to end up being about half that length. So keep that in mind. If you're wanting longer fringe, you're going to want to pull out quite a bit more yarn. So I'm going to leave my hook in place. And now all you have to do is hold down here and I'm going to start to twist. And I'm going to twist a total of 30 times. You can do it anywhere from 20 to 40 times, more if you like. The more you twist, the different the fringe is going to turn out. So you can kind of play with that to see what your personal preference is. But I've twisted twice already. Here's 3. And if you look at what I'm doing, I'm just holding my yarn on and letting it twist. And I'm starting to get a twist in that yarn that I've got pulled out. 7, 8, 9, 10. Some people take it off and put their finger up here in the loop. I prefer just to keep it on my hook. It works better for me because we're going to have to work into a stitch in just a moment. So I've got 20 twists right now. I'm going to go with 25 for this one and show you the 25. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to grab anywhere at all, just to keep it out of our way. And we're going to come back down here to that single crochet. And you're just going to work your way right underneath that stitch. So there's the top of my single crochet. And let me get this tail out of the way so you can see. So there's the top of my single crochet right there. And I'm just going just underneath it and inserting in, just like if we were going to work in that stitch. I'm trying to do the same exact thing. So here's my working yarn over here, and I'm just going to wrap just like that and grab some of that. I'm going to pull through a loop, and then see I've still got my loop over here on my hook. I'm going to go ahead and pull through that loop just like that. And then when you let that chain go, you can kind of twist and turn and pull it, because I did not twist it 40 or 50 times. It is a looser twisted fringe, which I really like. The more you twist, and I will show that to you, the more you twist, the tighter this is going to be. So that completes that, and all we have to do is go over here. We're going to look at our work, and we're going to do a single crochet, and I'm just going to do it right around this chain that we're on. I'm just going to go ahead and do a single crochet, just like so. And you can choose to do another single crochet right beside this, or you can have your fringe very tight together by just doing a single crochet and immediately going and pulling out, using whatever you're going to measure with, using that to measure the length of your yarn. Now I'm just going to again hold that down here, and I'm going to start twisting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So this time I've done 30 total. So I can feel that it's a lot tighter. I'm going to just grab and hold that out of my way, just like so. Just got it out of my way. I'm going to go down here, and right here, this is where our single crochet is. We're going to go right underneath that, grab a loop, pull through, all the way through what's on our hook. And now it ends up looking like that, so I'm just going to use my fingers to kind of pull this and coerce it into what I want it to be. So before we did 25, and this time we did 30. So if you notice, it is starting to get a little tighter here. So now that I'm finished, I'm just going to go ahead, and on my chain in this case, I'm just going to go ahead and do a single crochet. Now I'm going to pull out again, measuring against whatever I've chosen to use as my measurement for my yarn. And I'm going to start twisting, and you're just going to twist. I like to hold it. You can also just take your hook out if you like, put your index finger in and start twisting like that. That works just as well. So this is what I've got right here, and I'm just twisting. Twisting, twisting, twisting. Now this time I wasn't counting, but we'll start counting here because I want to do more each time, but make sure that you're counting as you twist. That way you'll come up with really even, pretty, consistent twisted fringe. So this time I'm going probably more for the 40 range. It's starting to get tight around my finger, so I'm going to go ahead, and in my case, I'm going to go ahead and insert my hook again, because that makes it easiest for me to work with it. And I'm going to go down here. I'm going to go underneath that single crochet. Just stick my hook in there and go right underneath it. I'm going to grab my yarn and I'm going to pull through and do a slip knot or a slip stitch on through. And then I'm going to coerce my fringe a little bit. See, it's kind of twisted a little weird. That is a-okay. You just kind of pull on it, and that actually ends up evening it out for you. And you do it until it's nice and consistent. So that's what you end up with. Each one, turns out this one's getting a little tighter. So the more you twist, the tighter your fringe will be. I prefer the looser personally, but that's just my preference. You can do whatever you like. So in this case, you're just going to go ahead and you're going to work on down doing your single crochet and pulling up your fringe. And you're going to work all the way through. You're going to get to here. You'll just go ahead and skip over to this space, or you can do a single crochet right here and pull out a piece. It really just depends on how tightly you're doing these together. Now when I'm not doing, I'm just single crocheting and immediately moving into my next one. There's not a lot of space between them. And if you want to have space between them, I've done a single crochet right here. Do another single crochet and you can add some more space. Now if you're doing a lot thicker yarn with this, then that would probably look really, really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and do this one more time with you. We've got our yarn pulled out. We're going to get it nice and tight, make sure it's even. And I'm going to twist 25 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. All right, grab like that. And that's why I like to keep it on there. I don't have to, get my hook back in there this way. So I'm just keeping it all on my hook. I'm going to go right under, and you can see your single crochet is trying to slide up on you. So you can just find that space really easy. And you're going to pull up a loop, and you're going to slip stitch on through. Just like so. And then you're going to release that, and it's going to twist up. And see that with the 25 and the length that I've done, it's a lot looser. And then we're going to do a single crochet right beside that. And to show you, I'm going to lay this out to show you guys. So these over here, these stitches right here, we were working those very close together. We were just going immediately into our next single crochet and going on down. And now we are building that out a little bit by doing a space in between. So the fringe will be a little bit less close together. It's almost not noticeable. The more space you put in between, the more single crochets, the less fringe you'll end up with. On the opposite side over here, I was not skipping or adding in any extra spaces, or single crochets I should say. I was just doing one of the twisted fringe right after the other. And it ended up looking just like this. So it's nice and tight and very, very pretty. So either way you want to do those long or those two borders is perfectly fine with your spacing. It's really going to come down to what you prefer, so you can get a little creative there. And now we're going to move on, and I'm going to show you how to do our next type of border, which is a border that you can use along here on the ending of your scarf. Or you can use it along here if you feel like these edges just aren't finished enough. In the smaller yarn, I don't like any extra personally, but you can always add more. It's really up to personal preference here. So we're going to move into that next type of border. And I'm going to show you along this side just so you can see how that would look, because obviously you can picture how it's going to look now that we've been working on the ends. So we're going to pause right here, and I'm going to come back in just a moment with the side. Alright, so I am back and I'm ready to do the next border, and I'm going to show this along the side. You can do it all the way around, or you can do it just simply on the ends of your scarf. It is completely up to you. But this next one, we're just going to do a simple Picot stitch. So I've got my slip knot on my hook. I've inserted into the chain here at the end. In this case, it's basically like a chain 7 and a 3 right here, a chain 3. So I'm coming right here off onto the side. So I've chosen a spot here that I've determined is my corner. I'm going to chain 1 to lock that in place, that slip knot. Now I'm going to move my tail on out of the way. Going back into the same chain, I'm going to go ahead and do a single crochet. So I'm going to pull up a loop and then pull through 2. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. And then I'm going to come down here, and this is going to be my first picot. So I'm going to work right underneath these 2 stitches right here in the front of my single crochet. I'm going to pull up a loop and pull through the other loop that's on my hook. So that forms my very first picot. So now I'm going to single crochet, and I do like to space my picots out a little bit. So I've done a single crochet. I'm going to do another single crochet. And I'm going to do one more single crochet in this spot. And then I'm working over here now on top of those clusters. So I'm going to do one more single crochet right there. And if you look back, in this case, I've done 4 single crochets. And now I'm going to chain up 3. And I'm going to look right here. I'm going to grab the loop that's on my hook, and I'm going to hold it in place so I can see where I'm going to go to. So right here, there's a loop right here in the front of the stitch. I'm going to pick that up, and then right here is another loop. So I'm picking up those 2 loops. I'm going to grab and do a slip stitch through all 3 of those loops. And then I'm going to do a single crochet right beside it. And now we're going to put down our work, and we're going to stop and take a look. Kind of finesse those. So now we're starting to do a picot along the edge. So we're going to do this a few more times so you can get the look of this. So I've got 1 single crochet that I did, and for consistency I'm going to single crochet 4 more times. So that's my 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Now I'm going to chain up 3, 1, 2, and 3, and I'm going to come back in here, and I'm going to scoot underneath those 2 stitches, just like so. I'm going to pull and do a slip stitch through all 3 loops on my hook. Now I'm going to single crochet again 4 more times. 1, I'm just going right around this chain work. 2, try not to split your yarn. Here is 3. And now I'm back over here into the top of my cluster. So I'm going to do my 4th one there, and that's where my next picot's going to land. So if you're doing the 4 just like I am, doing 4 single crochets with a picot on top of the 4th, it should work out that you're going to end up with a center picot in the chain work. This is a chain 5. And then you're going to end up with a picot on top of your clusters. And that's just my preference. I do like things to line up. So I've got chain 3 up here so that I can go back down here. And just so you guys can see, bring it up a little bit closer. So this is what it looks like when you're looking at your work. And I'm going to go right here, and I'm going to go underneath this one. And then there's one right over here, and I'm just going to slip underneath that one. So hopefully that's nice and clear and you can see what I'm trying to show you. Now I'm going to slip stitch and pull through those 2 loops. And you can use your finger to go ahead and help that 3rd loop go on through that. So now I'm going to do a single crochet. And I'm going to do that a total of 4 times. And I'm on this chain work again. This is my 3rd. And here is my 4th. I'm going to chain up 3. 1, 2, and 3, and I'm not going to wrap my yarn like I just tried to. I'm going to come back down here, and I'm going to find those little stitches, and I'm going to get up underneath both of those, just like that. And I'm going to go ahead and grab my yarn and do a slip stitch through those 2 and through this last one. And I always have to kind of help it a little bit. So now I'm going to do 4 single crochets. There's 1. Here's 2, and here is 3. And now my 4th is going to end up right here on top of that cluster. So I'm going to go ahead and do the fourth one there and do 1, 2, 3 chains up, come back down here, slip under those two little bars, I'm not really sure what to call them, and then pull it on through, do the slip stitch all the way through. And now I'm going to, you guessed it, do 4 single crochets, 2, 3, and 4. And if we lay our work down and have a look at it, this is how this is turning out. So it gives just a finished edge to the end of your scarf. And keep in mind, in this case, I'm showing this border on these little fans that we've created. This is where you've worked from your center point out. So this would be the long edge of your scarf that we're working on instead of the short edge, which is the end. But you can do this all the way along here as well, instead of the pom-pom or the twisted fringe. Or you could do twisted fringe here with this on the side here, and that will look really nice as well. So, I mean, it's all about personal preference. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to finish out this little section, and then we're going to move on to working on the other final border option, which is a flower petal border. So I will show you that in just one moment. And just like with the other ones, we have a slip knot. We have brought up that slip knot. We chose a chain to work into. In this case, this is where we had the, it's going to be like the equivalent of your chain 7. And right here is where I chose to work into. And then I've got 3 chains immediately preceding that. And I'm going to work in this direction again along the long side of my scarf. And you can do this border all the way around, even on your edges. Do it only on the ends. You can do it only on the sides. It's really up to you. But I'm going to go ahead and show you what I did real quick. Sorry. We've got a slip knot. We're going to create our little slip knot just like so. We have chosen that same stitch to work into. We're going to work directly into that stitch. We're going to do a single crochet. In here, we're going to pull it through, do a chain, and then we're going to go ahead and do a single crochet right there into that same space. I like to drop my tail back after I've got it locked in place. Give a little tug, get that out of our way. So now what we're going to be doing is we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. And we're going to wrap our yarn, and we're going to go right back down into that same space that we were just in, and we're going to pull up a loop. We've got 3 loops on our hook. We're going to grab our yarn and pull through all 3 loops, just like that. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2, and we're going to come down into that same space, or I'm sorry, into the space directly beside it in that same chain space. And we're going to do a slip stitch by pulling up a loop. And we're going to pull through the 2 loops that are on our hook. So that starts to form something that looks like a little flower petal. And so now we're going to do a single crochet right here into this chain space that we're in. So we're just going to pull up a loop and pull through 2 to do our normal single crochet. Now we're going to chain 2, 1 and 2. We're going to wrap our yarn. We're going to go back here into the same chain space that we're working in, and we're going to pull up a loop. Now we're going to grab our yarn and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. We're going to chain 2 again. Come right back down here, grab, and do a slip stitch. So if you lay down your work and you take a look, it's starting to form these little petal look. Now, my personal preference on this is to space those out. Just like with my Picots, I like to space them out. So I'm going to show you what it's like. I've got a slip stitch right here. We're going to do a single crochet, just like we were doing before, and I just worked into the top of that cluster. Now I'm going to do a single crochet here right beside it. And last but not least, I'm going to do a 3rd single crochet. Now I'm going to chain up 2, 1 and 2. I'm going to wrap the yarn around my hook, and I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to go right there into that chain 5 that we're working into, I'm going to pull up a loop. And now I'm going to slip stitch. Go ahead and pull through all 3 loops. So I'm essentially slip stitching. We're doing a half double crochet. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. I'm going to come back down that same chain, and I'm going to pull up a loop, and I'm going to pull through and do a slip stitch through that. Now I'm going to chain, or I'm sorry, not chain, but I'm going to single crochet right beside it. I'm going to do another single crochet. And last but not least, I'm going to do a 3rd single crochet. Now I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to wrap the yarn around my hook. I'm going to go back down here into this chain space and pull up a loop. Grab my yarn, pull through all 3 on my hook. Chain 2. Go back down into the same exact chain that we've been working in, pulling up a loop, and I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch on through. Now I'm going to do a single crochet. 1. We're going to stop right there and take a look. So if you're taking a look at your work, you can try it either way. It's completely fine. Either way is completely up to you. But as you can see here, once I start doing the 2 double crochets and then in the 3rd beginning the petal, that's where it spaces it out. When you do it one right after another, it gives you a look like this where it just kind of starts to zigzag almost. So it's completely up to you, and you could do only 2 single crochets and then doing your, so it would be a 1 single crochet space is the space that you've got. It's completely up to you. You can, I'm going to show you this one more time. So we've got 1 single crochet. We're going to do a 2nd in my case, and a 3rd. And now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap my yarn around my hook. I'm going to go back here into this chain 5 space that we're working into, grab a loop. I've got 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to grab my yarn and pull through all 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to chain 2. I'm going to go back down here into the same chain that we've been working in, chain space, and I'm going to grab a loop, and I'm going to go ahead and pull through doing a slip stitch. So it looks just like that. Now I'm going to do it one more time. That's a single crochet. I'm going to do a 2nd single crochet, and finally a 3rd single crochet. And now I'm going to chain 2, 1 and 2, wrap my yarn, come down here into this chain space we're working in, pull up a loop, pull through all 3 loops on my hook, chain 2, come back down into this same space that we're working in, pulling up a loop, and I'm going to slip stitch on through. Now I'm over here, I'm in the top of my cluster. I'm going to do a single crochet. I'm going to do another single crochet, and finally another single crochet, and then I'll begin that whole series over. So now that we've done several of these where we've got them spaced out, you can kind of get a better look at how that looks. It looks really pretty when you're doing this with the small yarn. I'm not as big of a fan of this when you're doing it with the larger yarn, but I'm showing it as a border option, and it is easiest for me to show you in the size 3 yarn on all these. I hope you enjoyed all 4 of these borders that I've shown you, or border options. As always, I appreciate you watching. Please like, subscribe, and share. Please comment below and let me know how much you enjoyed this tutorial, or if there's anything I can do to improve. Thank you again for watching. Have a great one.